Hello everyone, welcome to Study IQ. I'm Dr. Mahipal Rathod and today we have with us Mr. Rishabh, who is an IAS officer of the 2019 batch. He had cracked the CAC 2018, got All India rank 23, and now he has been allotted the Tamil Nadu cadre and is undergoing his district training. So Mr. Rishabh, welcome to Study IQ.
Thank you.
Mr. Rishabh, I would like to ask you about your basic background, where did you study, where are you from exactly, and what pulled you towards the civil services?
Mm. See, I'm a North Indian by origin, but my grandfather came and settled down in Tamil Nadu. So for the last three generations, we have been living in Tamil Nadu. I've been born and brought up in a small place called as Madurandanam. It's a small town or a village sort of a thing near Chennai. And my college, I did my engineering in M&M Jain Engineering College from Chennai, Tamil Nadu. After which I started working with Infosys Limited in Mysore and then again in Chennai. And after that, I felt that during the preparation time, I mean, during my job, I felt that there was certain inner callings. I felt that there was potential, which was, my potential is not getting used in the field of job in which I was, that is in the software field. I felt that I had much larger potential and I could do much better things. And few things which affected me or which inspired me are that I was sitting before a computer system and I was doing the same work again and again and again. I want a lot of diversity and exposure in the job. I just when I at the age of 20 and a half, 21, I got a job. So when I felt that what I'm going to do for the next 40 years, and whether I'm going to sit before the same computer and I'm going to do the same software job for the next 40 years. So that created a certain sense of, that created a sense of fear in me that this is not something I wanted to do. Sitting before a computer system was not something I meant to do, or it was not my inner calling. So I resigned my job after that. And after 1.5 years, I resigned my job. I started preparing in the year 2015. After 2015, I wrote prelims. In 2016, I cleared it. I couldn't clear mains. I was short of 3 marks for my interview call. And then again, I wrote 2017 prelims. I cleared it again. I went to interview, but I couldn't clear it. Again, fell short of few marks. So again, in 2018, I wrote in the 2018 attempt, in my third attempt, I cleared it with an all India rank of 23. And the optional subject which I took was geography, and that's it. I topped the state. I was ranked one in the state of Tamil Nadu. So that's a short introduction about me and what pushed me or what pulled me into the service.
Okay. So let me ask you about the mains examination, as that is the biggest hurdle that any aspirant faces. What was your strategy regarding mains? Did you prepare your own notes or you relied on the printed material or online sources? How did you go about your mains preparation?
Mains preparation is something which took me 3 attempts to decipher that what really needs to be done in mains. So in the first attempt, I couldn't complete the paper on time, which was the same thing which happened in the second attempt also. The first attempt, I focused exclusively on the GS part where I missed the optional part. Second attempt, I focused more on the optional part. I missed my GS part. So, this small sort of rookie mistakes which one shouldn't do, I kept on doing that for 2 attempts. So in the third attempt, I knew that what works. For example, in mains, largely what works is all your notes must get consolidated before your preliminary examination. The 3 months from the prelims till the mains, only thing I think an aspirant must do is keep on revising his notes and do a lot of answer writing practice, because your ability, your knowledge is limited, and everyone has that limited knowledge only. You cannot know the entire Wikipedia of knowledge. You don't have anyone doesn't has. The way is that whatever limited knowledge an aspirant or a person has, he has to put it effectively on the paper, and that is what it is expected. The person who's correcting your paper, he has no idea that you have been to 4 attempts or you have been to 5 attempts. He has no idea about you. He or she is going to judge you based on your paper, what you have written in your paper only. And that really matters. How, what you are reading, what you are writing on the paper, how you are writing on the paper, how well you are able to present your answers on the paper, how coherent your answers are from the first paragraph till the last paragraph, how coherently you're taking your answers. These finer points are very important in mains. And that's why I say that answer writing is very, very important for mains. For example, in my third attempt, I would have wrote around 35 to 40 tests, full length tests of various mock, various coaching institute mock, question papers. I used to take up every day on a daily basis. I used to take for 1.5 hours, 2 hours, or 3 hours test. And for optional also, I did the same. So I did a lot of answering because I felt that this is a strategy which is going to work after failing twice in mains. That too in a very short, in a very small month, I missed it. So I felt that this is the strategy that is going to work, and I felt very strong in my strategy. So I got 446 in my GS, which is one of which is comparatively higher than average, which is a good mark. I got 298 in my optional. I got 133 in my essay during that time. So I got a overall score of 877. So what I felt was that doing a lot of writing and answer writing practice and putting your views across the paper in a good manner is what can ensure good marks for any aspirant in mains examination.
Okay. Let's talk about your optional geography. People consider that geography is a very large subject and it needs a technical background. Do you think that is right? That if one has a technical background or a science based background, geography is the go to subject for him or her? How correct is that?
I don't really believe in that particular idea, a particular view that people hold, that geography is largely a technical subject. It is not a technical subject. For whatever I have read, there are a few concepts, and geography is largely a descriptive paper. There are a lot of detailing and description that involves in geography rather than technical nature. For example, what you can say about physics or chemistry is where you have an equation and we keep on solving the equation, we derive something, we apply formulas. You don't do all those things in geography. Geography, what we do is that, so for example, if you take geomorphology, what we do in geomorphology, we read about various landforms that is there in that is there. Okay, right. So reading about various landforms is a part of geology, and there is nothing much of science technical nature that has to come. You have to remember the various forms of geomorphology, like crust topography or probably basket of X topography. So you have to remember a lot of names and a lot of diagrams. Then comes the climatology part, which is again, whatever we see around as cyclones, and floods and all those things, whatever is climate related, tropical cyclones, temperate cyclones, we read about that. Even then, no technical knowledge is needed. What is really needed is common sense. And second thing is, the subject is really very vast. Let me tell you, it is really very vast. But if there's a proper planning, then it could be done very easily. For example, for geography, what I did was I prepared sort of micro notes. I prepared a booklet in which I used to only have the subtopics and then diagrams, only diagrams, few facts about those topics. So the entire, suppose 2-3 pages of content, I used to cut short within half a page. And I used to keep on revising that again and again and again. So what diagrams I have to draw, what are the key points, what are the key words or key points I have to mention in the answer, what type of diagrams I should draw, whom should I mention, because geography is largely huge facts. There is a lot of facts. You have to remember the names of the places. There are so many places and we have to remember so many names, and all of these names are newer to us. So that's what these are the final points. If we could focus on these final points, then geography is a very easier task. One has to properly practice geography. That's what I would say.
Okay, so there's no bias as such that even only science graduates or even just engineers should opt for geography. Anybody can go for it.
And anyone who has an interest can opt for geography. I had a natural interest for geography. For me, I really love environment and such sort of subjects. So I am deeply interested in environment and greenery and all that stuff. So for me, geography was a very strong point because I could relate a lot of things that happens in geography. So that was the only point that which I took geography.
Okay. Now coming to current affairs preparation. In mains, a lot of questions are asked
Hmm.
from the current affairs portion. How did you prepare it? Did
Hmm.
you depend on the monthly magazines or you made your own notes?
For current affairs, I really depended on the monthly magazines only. I took up the Vision IAS 365 or Vision IAS magazines, and I kept on revising it. What important over there is that whenever I used to take a topic, I used to think that what question can I use this point, because we cannot use questions won't come in each and every topic which is there in the current affairs magazine, but we should be able to interconnect between topics. There will be 5 topics given, so we should think that, okay, in which question can I use it? For example, I can give you a small example which I have thought. In 2018, it was National Year of Pulses, okay, or International Year of Pulses or National Year of Pulses, and in GS3 a question came on that. So I felt that next year if it's something, then it's sorry, this happened in 2017 means 2018 it was International or National Year of Millets. So again, a question came on millets. So when I felt that it was National Year on Pulses, which came in 2017, and 2018, when I was reading the current affairs, it was said that it was a national international year of millets. So I knew that if it's a year of millets, then definitely a question is going to come. So then I prepared in myself that, okay, what introduction will I be giving for this question? What are the points I should be writing? What is the map I will be drawing? What is the conclusion I will be putting for this question? Everything I prepared in my mind. So when the question came, it was very easier for me to write an answer because all the answer has been already been constructed in my mind. I knew what introduction will I be writing. I knew what body will I be writing. I knew what map will I be plotting, and I knew what conclusion I will be writing. So this is what it will help a person to sail through mains easily. That when you're reading current affairs, you have to think that where should I use this point, or how should I use this point in an effective manner so that it conveys my points in a better way.
Coming to the essay paper, your score in essay was very good, as you had mentioned earlier. How did you prepare for essays? Did you write some topics beforehand and you kept them ready, just revise them before going into exam, or you depended on your GS preparation for the essay writing?
Largely, I depended on GS preparation, but I did a lot of practice, as I already said you, for like GS and optional. I wrote a lot of tests for my essay also. I wrote a lot of tests. I used to give my essay papers to my peers. I used to ask them to just see it and give their points. And through this, I developed my ability. I used to write very long introduction. My introduction used to go for 1.5 pages, just my introduction. So my peer said that don't write such long introduction. Try cut short it by just 2 paragraphs. Your main idea should be, you should say your main ideas within the first 2 paragraphs. It shouldn't go much, much longer than that. And that was one point which I could go. And then the main idea, which is then the essay topic, it should come again and again and again in your essay, so that the person who's reading, he will know that you are still in the essay and you are not diverted. And by putting the main idea again and again, you will also be in a position that to not divert away from the topic, but rather be on the topic. So there are like, this was my strategy, that taking my help of peers only I could get good marks in essay.
Okay. The after the mains process, you have written mains twice. And what was your, if you could say one key takeaway for writing mains, anything that future aspirants should keep in mind for mains, what would that be?
Mains is not really a matter of your knowledge. Okay, mains is not really a game of your knowledge. Or not even optional is not a game of your knowledge. They are not going to test your knowledge, and within 20 questions, they cannot be able to test your knowledge. What they are trying to test is how well can you put your ideas effectively in a constrained amount of time. Within 8 minutes, you have to write an answer in which there should be 15 points. So how well will you be able to understand a question and act on that question within a limited amount of time? So they are testing your critical ability to analyze, reason, understand, and put it across. So this is what they are testing in your minds. They are not testing your knowledge. So people should stop reading tons and tons of books for the mains, and rather focus how they have to write an answer, what they have to write an answer, how effectively they can put across their points. If that they are focusing, then they will clear their mains in the very first attempt.
Okay. When you faced the interview board, what was your experience? Was your interview completely based on your DAF, or was it based on the current affairs? How was the overall experience of the interview?
Interview was, it was a very very enchanting, or probably say very very good experience. It was not entirely on my DAF, rather they picked up points from my DAF. For example, I graduated in 2014, after which I was working in Infosys as well as few other firms. So they took that point. They started from what was my line of work and what was I was doing in my work, and from the work part they kept on going. And here and there they used to bring in current affairs. They asked a lot of questions. For example, it was time when the Pulwama attack happened. 21st February was my interview 2019, and 14th February was when Pulwama attack happened. So a lot of questions came on the side of internal security because of the heightened tension that happened in India. A lot of questions on internal security came, and then they asked me questions on the income tax, something related to income tax. Then they asked me questions on chemistry. Then they asked me questions on something which I put in my DAF, like I've put reading books. So they had started asking me questions on books. They had asked me questions on speaking, public speaking. I have put that I am a public speaker, so they had asked me questions on public speaking. And in the final question, what happened? I'm from Tamil Nadu, so they asked me question on the hero worship that's happening in Tamil Nadu. Why there's an hero worship? They asked me about Sangam literature. What Sangam literature? What are its components? What are the various parts of a Sangam literature? And finally, when the interview was about to get over, the chairman used to ask a question. So chairman, he asked that why Prime Minister Narendra Modi went to Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi went to South Korea that day. So that was the news which came on the newspaper on that day, and he asked me a question that why did he go to South Korea? I gave a very normal answer that to sign pacts on this. He asked me that no, for a very specific thing he went to South Korea, and that was he was getting the highest civilian award of South Korea. So he was being awarded, and for that he went to South Korea. So that was what. So it's a mix of your current affairs, it's a mix of your DAF, it's a mix of your knowledge from where you come, it's a mix of the culture that you have come across. Being I'm from North India, I've settled around in South India. So I asked me that how do you feel that you know two different cultures in the two different extremes of India. So this is how the interview went. So it's not exactly in one point, but it was a very it was a very elaborate interview. They tried to assess me from various point of views various point of views. That's it.
So you cleared the CSE exam with flying colors, rank 23, and you joined your
Hmm.
training and are currently undergoing your training process. So how has been the
Hmm.
training over the past year? Can you give a brief outline of your training progress and what are you doing right now?
Mm, okay. My training started on 26th of August at LBS NAA, Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy, Missouri. Most of the trainees they go to Missouri to do their foundation course. Foundation course happens in 2 or 3 locations. IAS and IFS trainees they mandatorily they have to go to Missouri, and other trainees like IPS or IRS they get divided. Few people come to Missouri, and few people they go to Hyderabad. Once upon a time it used to happen in Bhopal also, but last year it didn't happen in Bhopal. So just in 2 places. So this is how it usually happens. So our foundation course started on 26th of August and it went up till 6th of December 2019. Foundation course is of about 100 days, and it's a place where this inter-services friendship has to get developed. So esprit de corps that they say. So our foundation course has a lot of interesting things. We have classes early morning. We have our physical training, and in the evening we have certain mandatory courses. For example, few people take out horse riding, few people take karate or self defense. Few people take shooting, rifle shooting, and archery. So there are a lot of outdoor activities that happens mandatorily in both morning and in the evening. And as a part of training course, we went for a 10-day Himalayan trek. So I went to a pass in Himalayas. So usually people go to a lot of passes, Rupert Pass or other passes or any other place, even Valley of Flowers. So people go for a 10-day Himalayan trek. After the 10-day Himalayan trek, we had a 7 days of village visit. One of my village visit was in Rajasthan. So people usually get divided between various states. People in my batch they went to Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Gujarat. So these were the 3 states where OTs were sent. So my village visit for was in a village called Savnia, and it was for over 7 days. After village visit, we all came to Kevadia in Gujarat on 26th of October 2019, where Prime Minister was to address us on 31st of October for the National Unity Day. So we were there in 5 days. There was a program called as Aram, whereby all the OTs from Hyderabad also joined us, around 385 or 95. I'm not sure of the exact number. So all the OTs joined us, and we spent 5 days together, attending to a lot of ideas, lectures on various topics of technology, innovation, etc. After that, our regular courses happened. We did a lot of study in our training. So that's how the foundation course goes. After foundation course, the IAS only go to a program called as Bharat Darshan. So the Bharat Darshan started on 13th or 12th or 13th of December, and it went up till 31st of January. So my Bharat Darshan was largely in the eastern and central India. I went to Madhya Pradesh and then Hyderabad, and then Andaman and back to Delhi. So that was it was a 45 days of going around India. So that happened Bharat Darshan. After Bharat Darshan, we joined our phase one, which takes place for IAS. For other services, they go to their own respective academies. IAS, they come back to Missouri. So the phase one started on Feb of 9th of Feb 2020, and within 1 month COVID came. So the lockdown was announced. By March 24th, the national level lockdown was announced, and the training academies were also closed. So after March 24th till May 26th, all our training happened over Zoom, as we are doing now. All our training happened over the online sessions. After 26th of May, we reached our districts, and our training starts over here. Here we are giving a designation called as assistant collector. The designation for us at various places, the designation differs. So in the village, in the district training, we are being given a lot of assignments. Like we have to send certain DO letters, and we have to do works on the geographical indication tag that is there in our district. And then we have to do a village study in our district also. We did a village study in our foundation course. We have to do a village study in our district. And then our collector gives a lot of assignments for us. So we have to do those assignments that the collector is giving. Largely for the last 2 months, we have been doing mostly the COVID related works. Apart from that, learning the revenue administration, how the revenue administration functions. For example, people usually get independent charges. For example, 1 week we have to hold an independent charge of a VAO or a village administrative officer. Then 1 week as a revenue inspector. Then 1 week as a tahsildar. So we have to hold such independent posts. So after holding such independent posts, we have to learn that what are the things that is happening in the revenue administration. Not only revenue administration, but as a AC trainee that we are called here. As a AC trainee, we have to go and understand how entire district works. We had 1 week of attachment with the police, that the SP office, district police office. So I had 1 week off with my district police at Kanyakumari. After the police attachment, there is a judicial attachment. We will be conferred special judicial magistrate and that powers. So under which we have to write some 5 or 10 judgments. We have to hear cases. We have to hear the witness, take the witness, whatever witness was saying. We have to write down the witness evidence, and then we have to judge on on few cases. So we will be attached to a judicial magistrate of a first class, under whom we will be, will be going for 1 or 2 weeks to understand how the entire judicial system in the district works. So the district training is practical exposure to anything and everything that happens in a district. District is like the unit of administration. Though there is a three-tier system, still district you largely see district as a unit of administration where the government really reaches to the people of our country. And so we have to understand what happens in a district and below the district level. So this is how the entire 1 year of district training goes. After the district training, we'll be going back again to Lavasna for phase 2 that goes on for 6 weeks. And after phase 2, there is a 3 months of assistant secretaryship in any ministry of India. So any ministries in the government of India. After that, we'll be posted as SDMs or sub-collectors. So the entire training, it goes over probably somewhere around 2 years, 2 years, 3 months. Over 2 years, 3 months is the entire duration of the training.
Okay. So it was really great talking to you, and you gave us a brief idea about your training as well as in detail about your mains preparation strategy. I hope this all information will inspire the aspirants of 2020 and 2021 to fulfill their dreams and become IAS officers just like you. So thank you so much for talking to us, Mr. Rishabh, and taking out the time out of your busy schedule. And we wish you all the best from entire Study IQ team.
Thank you.